Hello, welcome to Ahval TV.
Hi.
We have today Fabrice Balanche. He is one of the most prominent Syria experts right now, who is very deeply involved with the Syrian affairs, and he has a number of very important studies, and we are going to talk about it a little bit. Welcome to the Ahval TV, Fabrice.
Thank you.
Fabrice Balanche is an associate professor and research director at the University of Lyon and visiting fellow at the Hoover Institution and the Stanford University. But Fabrice also, he was recently at Washington Institute of Near Eastern Studies, and he was also writing very important pieces on Syria. Without taking too much time, I'd like to go right into our questions. The first question, actually, a lot of people are also very much curious that the new state of Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, do you think he is going to bring any changes to Syrian policy?
Pompeo is a very hardliner in the administration. He's for the confrontation with Iran. He's for a strike in case of chemical weapon attacks. So I don't think that is going to change the process of the war in Syria. But U.S. want to stay in northern Syria, want to confront Iran, don't want to let the floor to Russia, and so I think that is going to involve strictly this policy. But does it mean they don't want to reinforce the military forces in Syria? 2,000 it's enough, but they want to stay, and they want to strike if it's necessary.
You mean the strike into Syria, airstrikes to Assad regime?
Yeah, of course. If, for instance, Assad regime use chemical weapon, they will not hesitate to strike. Or if the American troops are attacked, like we have seen close to Darza 2 weeks ago, they will strike again.
Let me ask the Afrin question. As you know, Turkish operation there almost now 2 months. In a week, it will be 2 months, and it looks like the Turkish-led forces are, according to Mr. President Erdogan, they are going to enter the city very soon. You know Syrian Kurdish areas very well. You've been there. You were in Afrin before the war, but you still know the ground. First, let me ask this: how do you assess Turkish operation Afrin? What is the rationale? What are the goals of the Turkish administration there?
The Turkish administration don't want to see a Kurdish statelet in northern Syria, because this statelet is ruled by people from the PKK. It's not everybody belongs to the PKK, but the YPG has been funded by the PKK, and you have many veterans from the PKK. So it's a threat for Turkey. It's also a domestic threat, because for many Kurdish Kurds in Turkey, Rojava, it's a dream. It's a revenge against the Turkish state. So at the same time, Erdogan wants to destroy the Kurdish statelet in Syria, and to destroy the hope of separatism for the Kurds in Turkey.
So, what would be your expectation if, when Turkish-led forces enter the city and take over the city, basically? What is the next step there?
Well, I think for the Turkish troops, it will be easy to take the city. We have seen after 2 months that the Turkish army was able to take the Afrin bunker, because Afrin district was a Kurdish bunker. Many tunnels, many fortification, It's a mountain area, not so high, not like eastern Turkey, but it's easy to defend, to protect this area. And the YPG haven't succeeded to block the Turkish army. For the city, it will be a little bit difficult because you have many civilians. I don't think that the Turkish army want to make a lot of civil casualties because you could have an international campaign. The public opinion in the West will not agree. So it could take a little bit more time to take the city, but they can do it. And after, but we will have a Turkish military occupation of the area. Probably most of the people living in the area, because they are Kurdish, they will leave the area. They will not stay under the Turkish military occupation and under this Free Syrian Army, because it's Arabs and most of them are Islamist. So for the Kurds, it's not possible to stay in such condition. And Afrin will be like Azaz, Jarablus, under Turkish occupation.
You know Syria and populations in Rojava. Actually, you just published very important study very recently. I was able to read part of it. It's called Sectarianism in Syrian Civil War. It's a lengthy, very in-depth story, and you talk about the Rojava and the Syrian Kurdish cities there. I'm going to ask you this question, since you are really truly expert on this. The Turkish president and Turkish prime minister and other officials are giving these numbers. They are saying that the 55% of Afrin is Arab and 30% of Kurds, and they finish with this sentence. They say that they are going to give Afrin back to its rightful owners. What is your take on this stance?
No, it's wrong. Afrin district, what we call the Mantika of Afrin, it's Kurdish. The countryside is 100% Kurdish. And in Afrin, before the war, you had an Arab minority, 1/3 of the population of Afrin city. But Afrin city, it's just 60,000 people. So you'd add 20,000 Arabs in Afrin. Most of them are originally from Hatay. They came in Afrin after 39, when France gave Hatay to Turkey. Most of them are from Hatay. So what does it mean? In Afrin district, Afrin city and Afrin countryside, you had 200,000 people. So if you have 20,000 Arabs in Afrin city, what does it mean? The Arabs are only 10% of Afrin. It's not true. Of course, with the war, you have some refugees from Aleppo who came to Afrin because Afrin was a peaceful area. But and the number of Arabs increased a little bit. You have also many Kurdish refugees from Sheikh Maksud. It's a Kurdish neighborhood of Aleppo who came to Afrin. But the large majority of the population is Kurd, is not Arab.
What is there are experts who argue that going forward, U.S. forces are not going to stay long in Syria, even though they promised to be there open-ended. And this part of the argument also claimed that this Americans' partnership with Syrian Kurds is not going to last long. What is your understanding? Do you agree with this conclusion?
Yes, I agree. And I have one of the experts who say that it's not possible for the US to stay a long time in northern Syria. First, because they are in a very uncomfortable geopolitical situation. If they stay in northern Syria, they have they must have the support of the Kurds, of the YPG, but does it mean the PKK? And it's damage the relation with Turkey. So they have to choose Turkey or the Kurds. It's not possible to have the both together. And we see what's happened today. Turkey is attacking the Kurds, and the US don't do anything. So the YPG say to the US, you promise us to protect us, and you don't do anything. So how do you want we still work with you? It's not possible. And I think that the Kurds could switch the alliance and come closer to Russia in the near future. And without the Kurds, I don't see how the United States can stay in northern Syria. They would like to have the support of the Arab tribes in the Azor, in Raqqa, but they are not very efficient fighters, not very loyal fighters. We have seen during 7 years that the US tried to organize a Free Syrian Army and it was not working. So I think that the future in northern Syria is difficult for US. And I don't speak about the economic disaster because you said I was in the area and it's an economic disaster. And most of the Arab people that I have seen want that the Syrian state come back to the area because they don't see any future under Kurdish rule and with the US presence if US don't help economically the area.
So Americans say, as you know, that the Afrin is not the place we are operating. Whenever they are asked about Afrin operation, so it's kind of implies that they are going to protect the other regions, mainly Manbij and the eastern part of the Syria where they are operating. They kind of imply that if the Turks are coming there, they would protect. This is the Manbij question. How do you think the Turks and the Americans are going to find a solution over Manbij?
Of course, US say to the Kurds, we don't want to protect you on the western side of the Euphrates River. So, okay, we are in Manbij. They have 200 soldiers in Manbij on the front line between the YPG and the pro-Turkish rebels. But they are not very happy to be in the area. And the US tried to push the Kurds to get back Manbij to the rebellion, to the Free Syrian Army. But for the YPG, it's not possible. They lost more than 500 fighters to take Manbij in 2016 against Daesh, and it's not simply possible to let the Turkish army or the Free Syrian Army to come peacefully in Manbij. And I think that the YPG, if the US push them to let Manbij, or if the US withdraw their troops and let the floor to the Turkish army, they will prefer to give Manbij to the Syrian army, to the Syrian regime, than to let the Turkish army to come, as we have seen on northern Aleppo, Tel Rifat and Menar Erbez, at the east of Afrin. They get back to the Syrian army in exchange of such protection. So I think that we could have this scenario, and the alliance between the Kurds and the US will be broken.
My final question. We are already over time, actually. Another part of the US policy for Syria, we recently heard from Mr. Tillerson that they are going to stay in Syria. And one of the biggest reasons, maybe one of the two big reasons, that they want to stay in Syria to encounter the Iranian influence. And apparently the Syrian Kurds are the one part of the Syrian population that they rely on, and they think that they can partner to counter the Iranian influence. Do you think this is something can be doable?
Yes, Tierson in January at Stanford University did his speech, and he said, we are in Syria until 2021 to have a leverage on Assad regime and to block Iran. We don't want Iran built a land bridge from Iraq to Syria and Lebanon. But with the Turkish attack on the YPG, I don't see how the YPG could support the US policy, because the deal was, okay, we work for you in Raqqa against Daesh, but in exchange you have to protect us against Turkey, and in the future we will help you against Iran if you want to stay in the reserve, etc. But no, the deal is broken. So of course I think that the PKK is dealing with Iran. I heard that PKK and Iran had a meeting in Beirut 1 month ago, and we have seen after some militia, Shia militia going to Afrin, small help from Iran, small foot from Iran. So I don't know what's happened on the ground, but it's clear that now the PKK, the YPG are looking for new alliance to be protected against Turkey, and if US are not able to protect them, it will be finished, and the US strategy in Syria will cancel.
Then that means that US forces will be removed quicker than we expect from
Yes,
Syria.
of course, because they cannot stay in the area if the YPG become an ally of Iran.
Sure. Fabrice, thank you so much for your time. This has been a really insightful conversation. I hope to see you again in the future.
Yeah, with pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.